Hey guys, welcome back. It is the very first garden tour of May, which I can't even believe that it's that late in the year already, but things are really starting to get going in the garden, and I'm really excited to show you especially these plants that I kind of impulse bought and then immediately planted. But first, let's take a look at all the seedlings that are indoors right now. Peppers are still indoors. I kind of figured I would leave them here until I was ready to plant them out. It turned from a couple of days into a whole week just because the temperatures were so up and down, and then it looked like rain and then it didn't. But it is officially warm enough to plant these out whenever I happen to have the time. I do want to check in on these sweet peppers. These are the ones that, as you can see, they were turning kind of pale yellow. They were not having a good time. The new leaves that they're putting on, though, look healthy. So I think that my fertilizer worked. I used a couple of different products from Organic Rev. Specifically, I used these two products. This one is a lot of good bacteria for your plants, and this one is just straight up nutrition. You can see the NPK down here. I really like especially that the fertilizer is made entirely from food waste, stuff that would have gone into a landfill and is now being repurposed into fertilizer. I think that that feels really good to use. Not to mention that the microbial product, Organic Rev, is a really great way to jumpstart the microbial life in any garden. I know a lot of us live in houses where the topsoil was scraped during construction, and so there's not a lot going on, and a lot of people need that extra little bit to get that life in their soil, and I think Organic Rev is perfect for that. There is a link to the website where you can get this stuff in the description. I do want to point out the difference between these plants and these plants. I think it's pretty drastic. These are my hot peppers, these are my sweet peppers. These were actually planted first, and these were planted later by, I guess, about a week, maybe two. And these ones got potted up. These ones didn't. And they look honestly amazing. So I've been afraid to pot them up because I'm afraid that the soil that I chose might have something wrong with it. Either it's missing some nutrients, or, I don't even know what else, but the fact that the fertilizer is working is a very good sign. However, I did start some more peppers just in case those are stunted and never grow. You can see some of them have already come up, and I also started some more tomatoes just the other day. They haven't come up yet, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. All right, let's come on outside and we will take a look at how everything is doing out here. So, tomatoes. The reason that I started more seeds is because of this leaf curl that I'm seeing on these tomatoes. I've gone back and forth about whether or not I am just being like an overly protective helicopter mom with my plants, but the longer it goes, the more I'm convinced that this is definitely not normal. Something is wrong. And I've narrowed it down to two major things that could potentially be wrong. My first thought is potentially correct. This looks a lot like what I would expect herbicide damage to look like. Nightshades are particularly sensitive to one of the most common herbicides. It's called Grazon, and it targets nightshades specifically so that grass crops can live weed-free. And my first thought, since all of my tomatoes look like this, is that it was in the potting soil that I bought. This is an unfortunate problem that can exist, especially when something has compost in it, because these grass crops, like hay, right? They are grown with Grazon, and then they are fed to, say, cows, or used as bedding for chickens or something. If the cows eat it, it can go through their entire digestive system and come out the other end with enough Grazon in it still, even after composting that manure, to like noticeably harm your plants. And there's not a lot of regulation in place to kind of keep this from happening, keep you from getting compost that used a manure that had grazon in it. And it's less of a problem with composts than it is with like buying actual straw from the store to mulch your garden. I have a whole video where I talk about this and how to test your straw before you actually put it on your garden to see if it has anything in it. But basically, yeah, this is very much what that kind of damage would look like. And I thought that it came in the soil at first, but then those peppers, right, they do look kind of sick, but they don't look twisty sick. And if it is herbicide damage, it will always be that like twisty kind of sick. Beans will show it, nightshades will show it, tomatoes are especially sensitive to it. But if it didn't come in the soil, my other thought is potentially these tomatoes were outside. One of my neighbors, I'm in a rural area, maybe somebody nearby sprayed a field with grazon for the season and that drifted over onto my tomato plants. That could be the problem. If that is the problem, they should eventually start looking better, because they should theoretically recover and grow past it. That doesn't mean that they definitely will, but they could, as long as it's not something in the soil that is getting them. And like I said, peppers are not showing that same kind of damage. So my best guess is that it is not something that's in the soil. The other thing that this could be is tomato leaf curl virus. I would say it doesn't quite look like that, but it could. If that is the case, I'm also confused because somehow all of my tomatoes got it at the same time. And I just find that to be so unlikely that every single one of my plants would get the same virus at about the exact same time. I mean, they were all kind of sitting near each other, but that's generally not how disease works. It's not like blanket affecting everything exactly the same. So long story short, I'm starting more tomato seeds, and I might even end up having to buy some from the store if things don't end up looking better. Before we go look at the tomatoes in the ground, I wanted to show you guys this. I've been seeing this, and every time I see it, I think of you. I was talking about edible weeds at some point, and dandelion is on that list. But this is actually a false dandelion. The flower looks a lot like dandelion, but the way you can tell it's not a true dandelion, it is on a branched stem. A true dandelion will come on one stalk straight from the center. The bottom of this plant is confusing as well, but if you look at the leaves really close, they are kind of hairy, and that is not a true dandelion. This one is a true dandelion. You can see the leaves are not hairy, and it has a flower on just a single stalk. Okay, let's take a look at the tomatoes that are in the ground. I will say they do look better than the ones that are still in cups. You can see this leaf still has that curling damage, and these new ones that are coming on, this one's a little curled. These ones maybe look like they're not curled. It's really hard to say. I give them another week or two and then evaluate if the new leaves are looking healthy or not, and if they are, then that's going to kind of confirm my suspicion that some herbicide drifted over here. Here's another one. We've got curled leaves here, new leaves coming on. Like the very tip of this one is curled, but when they're little it's so hard to tell if they're curled or just haven't fully unfurled yet. The basil that I transplanted, I remember talking to you guys about how I topped them so that they would split, and you can see really well right here how it is starting to split already. Right there in the corners is all of these are going to be brand new stems. Oh, I almost forgot to talk about the arched trellis. This is where my scarlet runner beans are. They are still getting heavily eaten. Most of them, like this one, And then this one over here, you can't even see it because they've been eaten down to sticks. I had this problem last year actually when my noodle beans were coming up. Something kept eating them down like fully to sticks and I had to keep replanting. This one looks like it's gonna pull through. You can see it making new leaves right there. But yeah, I have actually no idea what is eating these things. My first suspicion is slug, just because of the shape of the way it's been eaten. So I might go ahead and put some ash, if I can get some, around this area. Try and protect my little seedlings. Draco out here just looking absolutely adorable. Every time I come out in the garden, they just follow me out and they lounge around. All right, let's take a look at this next row. We've got garlic and onions here, lettuce here, more onions going back that way, and brand new, I've got little pepper babies right in here. So the peppers in this area are definitely planted a little densely. And I did that because I wasn't entirely sure if all of them would survive, because these are some of the ones that were a little more sick looking. But you can see old leaves, new leaves. Such a drastic difference. I think being in the ground has been good for them. That means this one is probably just a nutrient deficiency for this plant. There's still a very good chance that they're like permanently stunted somehow from that nutrient deficiency early on. So I am still glad that I am starting brand new babies. I think it's actually really crazy how fast something can grow when it is in the ideal environment. I think by the end of the season, you'll see me talking about how the brand new babies that I planted right now and these ones are looking like almost identical. All these lettuces that I've got, this is a romaine. I don't think it's technically started heading yet, but they've just been producing beautifully. None of them have shown signs of starting to go to seed yet, which is really great. Yeah, I like these ones. This year I bought seeds from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, which if you didn't know already, I'm in South Carolina, I'm in the Southeast, and buying seeds that are like suited to your region makes a big difference in how well the plant actually does in your garden. So these lettuces are all suited for hot, humid places, which is exactly where I am, and so they should resist bolting pretty well. This section right here, past Cata, is still mostly weeds. I did pull a lot of the weeds in this area to plant the peppers, but all of this still needs to get pulled. You can see one lone zinnia in there that is surviving. There's also, that is potato right in there. And once I'm ready to plant out stuff, once I have the time, all of this, I think, except for maybe the one that looks really good, is gonna get pulled out to make room for something like corn, I'm thinking. Oh, also an update on the random red onions that came from the seeds that I planted that were from yellow onions. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4 red onions, which is wild. I guess it was some weird genetic thing that happened. Maybe it got crossed. I don't know. But yeah, these onions are looking sturdy. They're starting to bulb out. Getting excited. Alright, coming down to the third row, I have finally planted something on these trellises. You won't be able to see it until next week because it won't have sprouted, but this entire trellis is noodle beans, and on this one I did cucumbers and blue butterfly peas. So I think those two together will share this trellis nicely, and I think it'll look really nice. Back in this area, I still haven't planted too much, nothing new. We've still got onions on either side, a couple of lettuces, and a spinach. And literally everything else in here is weeds, except for, I guess, those onions in the back. A lot of my weeds are true dandelions, and I'm actually not mad about it. It's really nice, free, bitter greens for my salads. Dandelions are full of lots of nutrients, and they are also helping the soil at the same time. Dandelions, if you didn't know, are really good calcium pumps. So their roots go really deep down and collect calcium and pump it up into the leaves. So when I eat this plant, or when it eventually dies on the surface, we've got more calcium available to plants whose roots cannot go as deep. They also do a good job breaking up compacted soil, which I have clay underneath the compost that I put down when I first started here. And I think it probably is improving the overall health of my soil. So if I don't have to remove them, I don't. All right, this fourth row here, not a lot has changed over here either. I haven't planted anything new, although I do see a couple of wild false strawberries in here. You can tell that they are false because you see how the seeds sit kind of on the outside instead of being inset. And then they are edible, but they don't taste very good. So if you eat something that looks like a wild strawberry and it doesn't taste very good, you're fine, but also it's a false wild strawberry. My past cosmos are coming along. They look really good. I gotta be careful not to step on them. As we come back here, we've got another zinnia blooming, and fava beans we're still waiting to harvest. If I wanted to eat them fresh, I could pull them right now, but I am waiting for dried beans for most of them. And if you didn't know, the tops of these are also edible as greens if you wanted to. These poppies are getting tall, which means they're about to flower. So I think next week I'll get to show you guys these beautiful grape poppy flowers. This blueberry bush here at the end is actually looking so good. I think this is the one that I got off the clearance rack. It was looking real sad, and on top of that I kind of neglected it until I ended up planting it in the ground, and look at it now. Beautiful green foliage. We've got some baby berries coming on. It's very exciting. Oh my goodness, I just noticed, remember this cauliflower that like completely died? You can see the old stalk right there, and it started putting up a ton of shoots from the base. I just kind of let it keep going because I was lazy, but look at it, it's making little tiny cauliflowers for me. Ooh, that looks like lunch. All right, we're gonna come over into the raised bed section, and this week I'm going to talk just a little bit more about all the perennials in the garden than I normally do. We're gonna take a look at these grapes. I planted 3. One of them has started leafing out. This one looks like it is about to. You see this bud right here? I feel like they've been getting a little bit bigger. I don't think that this is dead. I think this is getting very close to starting to leaf out. I am less confident about my hardy kiwis that I've planted around here. They haven't poked up through the soil yet, which means I can't really look and see how they're doing. I have to just kind of like trust that they are there and that they will come up soon. This grape though that is leafed out is growing pretty fast. Got new leaves coming on. It's interesting to me that the new leaves are so pale. They almost look sick, but then obviously they're greening out real nice. In the perennial herb bed, things are starting to green up. You can see this curry plant putting on tons of new leaves. I got a new stevia plant, which I meant to plant, but I obviously forgot to do that yesterday. We've got lemon balm in here. It was struggling, but I think it'll pull through. And my sage has fluffed up. I really wasn't sure if it would come back for another year, and it looks really healthy. This type of sage specifically, I find at this point almost impossible to kill. It makes it through the winter, it makes it through the hot summer, and it looks beautiful almost the whole time. Oh, look. It's gonna flower for me. That's exciting. Also flowering behind it, this is my parsley. Parsley is biennial, so every other year it flowers. I guess, well, it only lives for 2 years, so its second year it flowers. And when I need a new parsley plant, I don't usually take the time to start it from seed. I just go to the grocery store and I buy those little live herb plants that you can get, and it comes with so many plants in it. You just separate it out. I got 3 big groups of parsley from just one of those, and I think that that's way more efficient than buying them from like the store that is selling them as a plant to plant in your garden versus the grocery store, which they're not really expecting you to plant it, they're expecting you to eat it. Down here underneath the sage is one of my feverfew plants. This is also looking like it's settling in nicely. We've got my original Italian oregano. This is the one that kind of lost its flavor, and I haven't noticed it coming back yet, but I'm hoping with the heat of summer maybe that will stimulate it to taste more like what I'm used to. And then the thyme is flowering. There's actually little house flies all over it, which if you didn't know, flies are pollinators too. So yeah, this is really, really gorgeous, and look how big it is. Over here in the tiered raised bed, this is another one of those parsleys that I had put in from that same plant that I bought at the grocery store. We've got, I'm pretty sure this is a calendula that I put in here, and of course the gorgeous flowering chives. Carrots in the top of here, which look at that, they're finally starting to flower. That is such a good sign. That's exactly what I want. These carrots are here for seeds for me, although I will probably plant midsummer some fresh carrots here so that I get a fall harvest again. But wow, that's so exciting. Greek oregano over here. I've really liked having this since the Italian oregano started losing its flavor. And this one I actually did start from seed, I think. It was a itty bitty babe, and it has come so far. My lemon thyme is also just now starting to flower. It's this beautiful green this year. I'm so happy that it came back. I thought it might die the way it was attacked by what I can only guess is spider mites last year. Well, I've actually got to go down this area in rows now. There's so much to look at. This right here is new. This is a Vigo self-watering planter that I am reviewing. There will be a video specifically about how I feel about it, but right now we are waiting for cucumbers to germinate in it, which is nice. Look at this cat lounging. Hi, pretty girl. Anyway, this raised bed right here, this is my new Italian oregano, just in case the other one never gets its flavor back. I had multiple calendulas here, but only one of them made it through the gauntlet of Rachel's neglect. And then onions right here along the edge. I think these ones are a little smaller than the ones that are out in the ground, but I kind of expect that. I think they don't have as much room to spread their roots out, and this whole area is brand new, so like the microbes haven't super moved in and everything. It'll take a while for this space to get established. Down here, this is my marshmallow plant, which seems to be getting established, but went through a little bit of a trial. Like this leaf looks like it just got dried out. We've also got sweet alyssum here that I've actually had this plant for a long time indoors, and it's finally been warm enough to put it outside. We've also got, oh, hello. We've also got another calendula here and a brand new worm bucket, which I am finally, like, I've done all the filming. I just need to edit the video about worm buckets for you guys. And then over here, I actually have planted some bush beans in this area. We'll see if they come up. And I've also put some echinacea seeds in here, just kind of willy-nilly, tossed them in, shuffled them under the leaves. I think having something to grow along with the asparagus will be really nice. Down here in this raised bed, I actually have finally planted it. You guys might have seen the video about it come out earlier this week. This has ube and sweet potatoes in it. I realized I had them sitting in my kitchen sprouting and I didn't have anywhere to put them. So that is going to be this bed this year. This bed right here is my purple potatoes. These are a determinate potato type, so I will not be mounding them up, although I might give them one more layer of leaves or mulch of some kind, just because I know that they're pretty shallowly planted, and I've been talking about how the leaves tend to blow off, so I've got to make sure that this stays really well mulched. And this final raised bed, this has my Sarpomira potatoes, and these do need another layer of mulch over the top of them. They are growing so fast already. Like, it's incredible how fast these things grow once they get started. And they're gonna survive the digging from that little black furry pest that you keep seeing in my garden beds. And now we are right by the berry patch. Blueberries still got a ways to go before they are ripe. They're starting to get to size at this point, and then after that it'll be the waiting game of just watching them for them to change into those nice soft blueberries. The most exciting thing is I came out here yesterday and I found ripe strawberries. This one's not quite ready yet, but it is about to be time to harvest like a bajillion strawberries every single day. I mean, look in here, look at all these unripe strawberries. Like, if you look at that on the scale of this entire patch, I can't imagine there's like less than 1,000 strawberries in here. The blackberry bush is absolutely covered in green fruits, and if you live in this area, you know that these white flowers, they're very recognizable. You see them by the side of the road. That's all the wild blackberry bushes in flower, which they're very, very tasty to forage if you have the time. Over here is my second new worm bucket that I planted, and again, I'll talk about that in detail in that specific video. But we've also got lots of raspberries coming on. They're a little further behind than the blackberries, but honestly not by a lot. Okay, and the exciting new thing is right here. I impulse bought some citrus, guys. We are technically zone 8 now as of the new USDA updates, so theoretically I should be able to grow citrus. This one is a kumquat. It is one of the most cold hardy varieties of citrus that you can get that is still very tasty to eat. I've also got a fig over here. This is the same fig that you've been seeing. I just made the snap decision to go ahead and plant it in the ground along with these citrus. I've got citrus, fig, citrus, and I'm hoping to keep them all pruned kind of small. I don't want them to get so tall that I cannot reach them. And this citrus right here, this is a, what is it? Limequat. So it's a cross between a lime and a kumquat. Should also be fairly cold hardy, but if one of them's gonna die, it'll probably be this one. Alright guys, so if you would like to watch these videos without any ads, then check out my Patreon below. For just $1 a month, you can watch these videos without any ads, and usually early. I try to put them out at least a day in advance of when they come out on the channel. Additionally, if you want to support me more, then I have lots of other cool things for my patrons. I have the limited run stickers that you've seen me talk about, and the other night we had our quarterly live stream with people in the Discord. It was such a good time, and even if you are not in the Discord, patrons can access the recording of that after the fact. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy gardening!